After becoming the world's greatest raider, I have compiled various tips and techniques that I guarantee many of you still don't know about, ranging from little tricks and tidbits that make you a better player all the way to game-breaking tech. If an enemy tosses a lure grenade at you, trying to sick any arc on your ass, you can shoot the lure grenade to destroy it. Yes sir, you can nullify the effect, silence the alarm, simply by shooting it. Nice and easy, baby, nice and easy. So, for any shotgun connoisseurs like me,
I came here for two things, to suck some hard candy and suck some dick.
you really should know that shotguns don't have a headshot multiplier. There is no boost for landing headshots. So regardless of what orifice you shoot, the butthole or the nostril, you will deal the same damage. This is actually important information because now you won't get confused. For example, in the past, I've landed a clean headshot and thought, oh damn, I just pumped his fucking head off, man. He's definitely super injured. That headshot had to have hurt badly. But in reality, I only dealt the standard damage. So this could negatively impact your decision making in a fight. You can outright negate fall damage with a few noisemakers. If you're able to stack some noisemakers extending out from a ledge, you can walk on top of them and then disarm the first one, which will send you falling. But you can ride the other noisemakers like a flying carpet, safely landing on the ground. Now you may not realize this, but it is good to know that throwing a snitch scanner is different than when the snitch itself calls in for more arc. So when the snitch itself makes a call for help, wasp and hornets will drop down, typically 2 wasp and 1 hornet. However, when you throw a snitch scanner, only 2 wasp will appear. Only wasp, not hornets. Hornets do not appear when you throw a snitch scanner. So that is good to know when you're doing trials or whatever. Now here we have a simple, yet game-changing movement tech that many players overlook. So there is a keen distinction between rolling while walking and rolling while sprinting, right? Well, capitalizing on this can drastically help you win more fights. Most players probably slam the dodge roll button without putting much thought into it, but the sprint roll will launch you much further and much quicker. And doing it is easy. Even with a controller, you can reliably perform the sprint roll after every shot simply by holding down the sprint button before rolling. I highly recommend this because honestly, the walking dodge roll might not even be worthwhile in combat. Doing a little roly-poly in gymnastics camp versus the sprint roll, which has you leaping for your life like a goonie diving head first into the booty. Get into the habit of sprint rolling to dodge, and I guarantee you will win more fights. Now, technically, the circle is the best crosshair. Now, of course, everyone has their preferences, but logically speaking, the circle clearly showcases your exact bullet spread or dispersion for every weapon. You see, with other crosshairs, if you want to determine your bullet spread, your bloom, you pretty much have to imagine an invisible circle within your crosshair. However, making the crosshair itself a circle shows you precisely what your bloom is looking like at any given time. After thinking about it like this, I always use a circle now. If you need surveyor vaults and you're on the hunt searching for a surveyor, the king roly-poly, keep an eye out for its blue light. You can see its blue laser from across the map, which allows you to easily track it down. This here is the quickest, most optimal way to fully heal yourself. So typically, you must wait for your bandage or shield to fully charge up before administering another one, right? Well, instead, you could combine different healing items. See, first you quickly pop a bandage, which takes 10 seconds to fully heal, but then you use Vita Spray, and you're able to heal yourself with the spray while the bandage is doing its thing for that 10 seconds. And the same goes for recharging your shield. You can use the regular shield charger and then immediately use the surge charger. And boom, totally refilled within seconds. This strategy vastly reduces the time it takes to full heal. If any of you out there has a Vita Spray blueprint, you are a lucky duckling. Getting blueprints are obviously a big deal. Well, it's good to know that some high-level blueprints are tied to certain events. For example, the volcano can only be found during the Hidden Bunker event. The Bobcat blueprint can only be found during the Locked Gate event. The Snap Hook can be found during the Electromagnetic Storm. And the Tempest blueprint can only be found during a night raid. So if you're looking for any of those in specific, take note of that. Listen up, man. See, the game has two types of smoke. There is cover smoke, specifically from smoke grenades, and then there's explosive smoke, which comes from pretty much everything else, like explosions, gun smoke, even stuff like the fart gas. Now, this is good to know because cover smoke is supposed to cover up or conceal, right? Meanwhile, explosive smoke seems to do the opposite. Explosive smoke actually tends to highlight shapes or silhouettes, and it pretty much overrides the cover smoke, and that's what's interesting. Even from inside a concealing smoke grenade, if there is any explosive smoke, it'll highlight shapes and silhouettes for you to see, especially the shape of raiders. Now this means if, say, an enemy raider drops a smoke down to conceal themselves, you could throw explosives or gas grenades into their smoke in order to potentially see them. In this clip here, you see my enemies toss down a couple smokes, so I responded by throwing my own fart grenades down. If they had pushed through the smoke, I would have seen them. Plus, their stamina would drain from the gas. I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you, these fart bubble grenades are quite useful in PvP. So in conclusion, explosives or the fart gas can somewhat supersede a smoke grenade, allowing you to see through. Fighting the Queen on damn battlegrounds is a classic experience. Well, one of, if not the best locations to fight her is within this room. The very last room underground in this area, it's damn near perfect. So the Queen itself can barely attack you while you're in here, plus you have the perfect view to attack her with hole crackers or wolf packs or whatever. But the one main downfall is, of course, other raiders ambushing you. Salty scoundrels. If you do not set up a strong defense, you are a dumpling. You're an easy target. Literally just open the door, toss some grenades into the room, and the entire team is smoked. But fortunately, you can set up some heavy defenses with door blockers, barricades, and mines. So step 1, you place door blockers, forcing enemy raiders to breach through. Step 2, place mines and traps, such as jolt mines or laser traps around the door. Make sure you place them in a position that is difficult for the enemy raider to shoot and destroy, such as above the door. And step 3, set up barricades directly in front of the door. Placing the barricade can be tricky, but if you do it correctly and get it close enough, the barricade will prevent them from entering the room, forcing them to dismantle it before entering. You want to make it as loud, as slow, and inconvenient as possible for them to get inside this room. I kinda like placing a blaze trap on the side out of the way, not right in front of the door, and this is not meant to explode when they're walking in the room like a regular trap would. Nah, this is for you to shoot if the enemy enters. But then when they come storming in the room, you can shoot it, setting the area ablaze. The thing is, especially if you're using something like the equalizer that has a very distinct sound when firing it, you will most likely bait and entice many raiders to try and scrap with you. We had damn near the entire lobby try pressing us both times that we fought the Queen this past week. But thankfully, these scoundrels don't realize we were ready to tussle. We walked out with a ton of juicy loot simply by fending off these scoundrel-ass raiders trying to ambush us. So obviously, photo cloaks are excellent for setting up mines when fighting a larger arc, specifically the Deadline. Now see, the Deadline mine are fantastic for fighting the Queen or Matriarch. One well-placed Deadline on a leg with its armor already slightly damaged can literally drop the Matriarch to her knees, incapacitating it. Or you can perform a particular spicy technique. Listen man, listen, if you're a wild man, a daredevil with giant cojones, then this trick is for you. You could use a snap hook to vault on top of the Queen, and once you get up there, you place some mines such as the Deadline or even a blaze trap. The Deadline you can place on its legs, underneath it, pretty much anywhere, but setting a blaze trap on the very top to literally melt its brain is a very effective strategy. Now of course, this also works for other large arc like bastions or bombardiers. You can easily solo a bastion with a single mine. In fact, doing this on bastions is most wise because bastions have no AoE attack. They cannot do anything other than spin around like a rodeo if you're on top of it. So using the cloak, you jump on top, place down 1 or 2 traps, and boom, you're cooking up that bastion for dinner. But the thing is, with the Deadlines, yes, it is insanely deadly, dealing 1,000 raw damage. However, it's not super duper effective at penetrating armor. On a Matriarch or Queen, you want the leg armor broken off before placing the mine on its leg, so keep that in mind. As you see in this clip, I placed a Deadline on a fully armored leg, and it didn't do much, but if the armor was already damaged, it probably would have incapacitated it. Now I think I can comfortably say the level 3 looting augment, Survivor, is objectively the best augment in the game. Now first of all, you can wear medium shields, which automatically makes a huge difference. Secondly, the Survivor augment has the highest max loadout weight, 80 maxed weight. Also, its unique ability is arguably the only actually useful and effective ability out of any augment. Sitting still recovers your health while downed, so you essentially cannot bleed out, which means if no other enemy raiders come along and thirst you dead, then you can crawl your ass all the way to an extraction point and safely escape.
You're not going anywhere, and we're watching you.
Another good augment I would say is the Combat Mark III Aggressive. It has a 65 max weight, which is decent, plus it can wear heavy shields. And despite what many players may think, heavy shields are actually viable and worthwhile.
Think it makes sense.
The final augment worth mentioning is the Tactical Mark III Defensive. This also allows you to wear medium or heavy shields, which is perfect synergy here because it offers an integrated shield charger. Therefore, by using a single regular shield charger, then popping the integrated surge charger, you can refill your heavy shield to full health within just a couple seconds. So yeah, these are the 3 augments I highly recommend, considering most other augments are straight dingleberries. And speaking of dingleberries, the Hornet Driver is dingleberry, is doo-doo. This has been a major pain in my ass and almost got me killed many times, as I'm sure it's done the same for many other raiders out there. So I've come to the conclusion that the Hornet Driver is unreliable. It claims to shock arc for 10 seconds, but nope, the Hornet Driver is a lying sack of shit. I don't know precisely why this is happening, but very often the driver simply does not work. I mean, is this a bug? Is there some type of hidden intentional mechanic that I just can't figure out? Like, why the hell is it not stunning these arc? Why am I throwing a Hornet Driver clearly affecting the arc, yet it has 0 impact on it, like 0 stun? Even if it lands directly on it, the driver may simply refuse to do its job. In my experience, it's only been somewhat useful at taking down Rocketeers, stunning and dropping dropping them to the ground. However, even with this, it's not totally reliable. Sometimes I'll throw a driver and yet nothing. Just fuck me, no response. I'm expecting it to get stunned, but what actually happens is me getting my ass blown up. And I thought, okay, maybe it only works by hitting it directly, making contact, physically bounce the driver off the arc. But nope, even that is useless on occasion. And showstoppers, they seem to be a bit more consistent than Hornet drivers, but even they are still not totally reliable. So, which is why at this point, I pretty much only use lure grenades to distract Arc and open up an opportunity to attack. I've given up on stunning them, and I solely use lure grenades now, because lures are always reliable. I mean, dude, grenades are useful for supporting your team when pushing in a PvP fight. Let's say your teammates are making a move and aggressively pushing forward while you chuck grenades at the enemy's position. So your grenades are dealing no damage to your teammates. They can run right through the explosion. However, it will, of course, injure the enemy if they're not behind cover. So the combo of timing your grenades alongside your allies' push is a great strategy in a PvP fight. Here is a quick tip for destroying the Shredder. Now, just like most Arc, its weak spot is its thrusters. Under its metal skirt, you shoot the blue thrusters, and this will ruin its mobility. Also, you could use the synthesized fuel cells that you can easily find laying around on the Stella Mantis map. These are lethal with huge explosions, so setting up a couple of them can easily knock the socks off a Shredder. But it's not just the Shredder though. Of course, these fuel cells are super effective against other larger Arc as well. For example, in a previous video, I've spoken about how you can use Wasp drivers to set up a little minefield, then lure a Arc onto it and destroy it. Well, I've come to realize that you can create an even stronger, more deadly minefield using the fuel cells. You can easily grab multiple at Stella Mantis, or you can buy them from the Seed Lady. So you throw down 3 or 4 cells, lure a Leaper or Bastion on top of the area, and fire when ready. Lots of damage, super easy, and of course, most importantly, you feel like a Chad. You feel like a pro gamer. It is a riveting experience, my friend. Now I want to discuss weapon mods, like when should you use a compensator or when should you use a muzzle brake. So reducing max dispersion is useful with automatic weapons, where you're holding down the trigger, like the Stitcher, Bobcat, Torrente. Dude, Torrente, you 100% want a good compensator. A good compensator is probably the most important mod for a Torrente. On the other hand, guns like this, semi-auto guns such as the Anvil, you want to reduce the dispersion recovery time. That's more significant, because after you shoot, you want your bloom to recover as quickly as possible for the next shot, right? Which is why both the Anvil and the Renegade inherently reduce recovery time when upgrading. Therefore, stocks are super helpful for semi-auto fire. Stocks, baby, stocks. Tragically, you can't attach a stock on the Anvil, however, the Renegade you can. So a good stock on the Renegade is vital. A stock may be the most significant mod for the Renegade. The Arpeggio is another weapon that significantly benefits from a good stock, reducing recovery time. And then, when it comes down to recoil, every gun has its own recoil. For example, the Bobcat, from my testing, you'll want to focus on reducing its vertical recoil more than horizontal. Meanwhile, the other SMG, the Stitcher, you want to reduce horizontal recoil. Its vertical up and down recoil isn't that strong, however, the Stitcher will jump around horizontally quite badly. So a horizontal, angled grip is best for the Stitcher, while a vertical grip is best for the Bobcat. And then for shotguns like the El Toro, you want to reduce vertical recoil. The shotgun jumps up much more than any horizontal movement, so a shotgun you'll want a vertical grip. But the thing is, base dispersion is always vital, so attaching a good shotgun choke always comes first. A good choke is number 1. And then for the Venator, in my opinion, vertical recoil is the priority. The Venator seems to jump up much more significantly compared to the side, so you want to use vertical grips on the Venator. And now it is your turn, my fellow jabroni. Please comment down below your thoughts and opinions. Any tips of your own, please share it with us. And of course, body slam on that like button if you made it this far. I thank you very much for watching. I truly appreciate all of you, and I will talk to you later. Stay golden.